Autumn is here, everyone. It's getting a little chilly outside, and I'm having a good hair day, and I went and got my first apple cider and donuts yesterday, so feeling the autumn vibes. Hello and welcome to Knit Desserts. This is episode 2. I'm Tara and I'm coming to you from southern Wisconsin, where I like to knit all the time. I'd like to share a few finished objects, and I have updates on a test knit that I'm doing and some excitement from Wisconsin Sheep and Wool last weekend. So let's kick it off with a dessert. I never talked about the title of my podcast last time, but there's so many knitting podcasts, we don't really need another one, but Knit Desserts wasn't taken and I really like dessert, so I thought that would be a good name. And I like to kind of think of knitting as a thing to savor, something that I do at the end of the night. Makes me feel good. So today I am going to treat myself to a little apple cider donut breakfast. Happy autumn, everyone. Doesn't get better. That's what I live for. Before we begin, I'd like to recommend you all go check out Mitski's new album. It's on YouTube, every song, so you don't have any excuse, and I'm going to link one below. She just released it on Friday, September 15th. I've been in love with Mitski for like 2 or 3 years, and she is an artist that grows on you. Maybe the first listen to the album, you'll be a little underwhelmed, but then as you listen again, you'll hear all the intricate background music and all the interesting lyrics, and I feel like all of her albums are an experience. Like, I just can't listen to one song here and there. I just put on the whole album on repeat. So the newest one is pretty mellow, I think, compared to the other ones. There's not a standout bop or a upbeat song, but I think it's really good. So let's get into some knitting content. Let's start with what I'm wearing. I'm wearing the Konomi Pullover, and this is knit in Pearl Soho Sweetgrass. It was designed with Sweetgrass Fine, but I knit it with the regular fingering weight because I didn't want it so see-through. And this was a knit that I did to intentionally knit at a more open gauge, because I talked about in my last episode how I was working on the daily pullover, and when I first swatched, the swatch seemed really airy, like too open or too see-through. So I chose this as something intentionally open gauge, and I knew I would wear it over something else, so I was more comfortable trying that out first before I went back to the daily pullover. It's by a Japanese designer. I'll put her name on the screen and link it below. But it has this adorable little curled over V-neck and a like puff sleeve detail and some little bobbles and cross stitch pattern on the arm. And you can make it long sleeve or short sleeve. And I think it looks good with almost anything. You can wear it in any season. I kind of faded into the lighter color because this was like one skein and then a second skein. So I originally bought this yarn to make a gradient scarf, kind of a beige neutral scarf, so the interest would be more in the texture and the gradient. But then I didn't like it so much as a scarf material, so I decided to make this shirt. Okay, let's kick it off with a finished object. This is the Dagrun's Luggar sock. This is a pattern that was reverse engineered by Roxanne Richardson from a sock she acquired from a Norwegian knitter. The cool feature is the heel turn, which is done with a double bind off join, and it's a technique I've never done before, where you bind off a stitch on the left needle, then you switch to the right needle, and back and forth, back and forth. These are meant to be a worsted weight or heavy worsted or Aran weight pattern, and I ended up using a little bit lighter yarn and lighter, smaller needles so that I could get a smaller circumference. They're meant to be one size fits most, and because of the ribbing, they're super stretchy, so they cinch down for a smaller foot and they expand to fit a larger foot. But I wanted it a little more snug on me, so I did a 3mm needle. And then the toe is knit similar, it's a round toe, so you knit it similar to hat decreases, where you decrease in sections and then you weave your tail through the last couple of stitches. I kind of got impatient and I made the toe a little more pointy than I should have, but I don't think I'll go back and fix it because I'm done now. I'm really finding the yarn combination an intriguing color. I'll talk about the yarn a little bit. The combination of colors is something I wouldn't have thought to put together normally, but I had the two yarns and I got inspired to try them. This yarn is Nomad Prism. It's a DK weight, 85% superwash wool and 15% silk. I was going to use this yarn by itself. I hand dyed it with black beans, and I wanted to show off that color, but I found maybe I need to wash it more to get the softness back into it, but it was too crisp on its own. I added this alpaca silk to it, which I had just purchased at the Wisconsin Alpaca and Fiber Fest in the spring, and it had some blue tones throughout it. The blues, I thought, kind of complemented each other, and then when I put them together, I really liked the fluff, the softness of this, and I thought it was a very unusual color combination, so I went with that. These are going to be more of a bed sock, not so much a wearing outside boot sock. So I don't mind that there's no nylon content in here. But I think the silk is supposed to be pretty durable. Yeah. This yarn is Stitch Stuff Yarns Fluff Stuff. It's a I think 74% Surrey alpaca and 26% silk. So the silk from both yarns should make the sock plenty durable for at least a wearing around the house sock. Another finished object is my Anticline mitts. These are a pattern by Emily Greene, and it's knit on a US 1, and there's this neat crossed stitch pattern. So I found these very beautiful. However, they were extremely tedious to knit. There's a lot of 1x1 cable crosses on a US one, and so it was like pretty tight, and then just the following the charts, which is different in every row, made it hard to take it on the road. I knit the cuff to be super adjustable. In the pattern, she has you do some transition rows and then turn, this is half twisted rib, and then she had you actually knit the half twisted rib so that the twisted stitches would be on the outside when it's folded over. But I wanted to be able to say I'm like in the cold, then I can you know, cover up my whole hand, or if I just need my fingers showing to like look at something on my phone, then I can do that. And if I want to knit with them, I can pull it down even further. So I didn't want any differences in the ribbing throughout. And then another thing that some people mentioned in their Ravelry projects was that this pattern is not quite centered on the back of their hand, and they moved the thumb a few stitches closer to the palm. And I would have done that, but I would have had to figure out how to do it mirrored on the other mitten, and I did not feel like figuring that out, so I just went with the pattern as written, and I think it's very nice as it is. But if I were to make them again, I would do that. So these will be excellent for cold hand season. So if you are anything like me, your hands might be cold for 6 to 9 months out of the year, and it's hard to even touch your own face because they're so frigid. The yarn I used was Pearl Soho Posy. Surprise, surprise, Pearl Soho again. This is unfortunately a discontinued yarn, so I bought it on sale when they were destocking. And it's 75% superwash merino, 15% cashmere, and 10% nylon. So it was kind of their sock base, hand dyed, in the color Blue Dusk. So in total, these took less than 100 grams. I think each mitten is about 38 grams. So you could totally make this as a one skein project if you have a cool hand-dyed yarn. Okay, that's all the finished objects for today. Let's talk about some works in progress. First work in progress, I'll give an honorable mention to the daily pullover. To be quite honest, I haven't gotten very far since the last recording. I've knit like a few more inches on this sleeve. I did take it to the Barbie movie and knit on it at the movie theater. So it's probably at my elbow now, and I have to decide, do I want to shape the lower arm at all before the ribbing, and then I'll get back to the body. Actually, I'll probably do the other sleeve first, but we're not gonna really dive into that one. My boon companion throughout the past month or so has been my test knit. This is the Levain cardigan by Jenn Lampen, or Synaptic Stitches. It's a brioche cardigan with a cool what do you call it, syncopated brioche wheat pattern, and I feel like this cardigan has super leveled up my brioche knitting. I've messed up the chart several times and had to rip back a few rows, and I totally managed to get back on track. So if you've done any simple brioche patterns, I think you could totally tackle this, because Jenn has some great tutorial videos on her um, YouTube channel, and she teaches you how to increase and decrease and different bind-on or cast-ons and bind-offs for stretchy brioche, and how to fix mistakes. So, and her whole idea behind her patterns is fearless knitting. So you can totally tackle the things you want to make. This is knit with, I did talk about this last time, Knit Picks High Desert, and it said 100% Shanico wool. So I looked up, I have the Fleece and Fiber source book, and Shanico is not actually a sheep breed, it is a company, and they work with U.S. raised sheep, and they're mostly Merino or Merino Rambouillet crosses. So this is more of a, it's probably a Merino yarn, and that's why I found it so soft and squishy. And I think it's a 3-ply, so it's really round, and so now you know. This is from Knit Picks, and it's 100% American made. So I'm at the vest stage. I'll try this on. So the pieces are knit bottom up, and then you seam them. I haven't actually gotten around to seaming. I've just pinned them so I can try it on. And I like the fit a lot so far. It has some neck shaping so that it will stay closed when you put the neck band on. And then there's armhole shaping, so it'll be kind of a set-in sleeve. And then the back has 3 wheat patterns. So now I'm working on the sleeves 2 at a time. This is a bit of a tangled mess, but I'm willing to deal with that to only have to think about it twice. 2 at a time knitting is, I think it's helpful for me. It feels slower in the moment, like, oh, I'm not making so much progress, but when you're done, you don't have to knit a second sleeve because you already did. So I'm probably like not up to the elbow yet. I'm gonna make the sleeves probably long up to my knuckles. I don't know. I'm adding probably 3 inches to what the pattern recommends because 1, I have long lanky arms, and 2, I am not a fan of bracelet length sleeves. I like a sleeve that I can pull over my whole hand and kind of encase it because, as I mentioned before, I have the coldest hands in America, and I like to feel cozy in all my sweaters. So I don't like, I'll just pull up the sleeve or roll it up if I have to like wash dishes or wash my hands. But I'm really happy with this cardigan so far, and I think the pattern will come out sometime in mid-October because this is due October 8th, and then she'll incorporate all the testing feedback. So should be a great pattern. I would recommend it. Let's talk about spinning. So I did manage to finish all of what I had of this Coopworth wool, and I spun 100 grams. I haven't plied it, but so each of these is about 25 grams, maybe 26. My goal was to finish this before I went back to Wisconsin Sheep and Wool, where I bought this last year, so that I could not feel guilty buying a little more fiber to spin this year. So I'll apply this eventually, and I'll let you know how that turns out. Speaking of Wisconsin Sheep and Wool, I went last weekend. It was a beautiful day. It was a little bit overcast and not very hot, so I could wear a couple knitted items and not be dying in the heat. they have 2 huge vendor barns, and so each barn has 2 like super long aisles, and there's plenty to see. So I went in with a couple of small things I wanted to see. One of the first booths we saw was a spinning wheel booth, and they make their own PVC spinning wheels. So I tried it out, and this is the yarn I made. This is Babe's Fiber Garden. It was a PVC construction, so that makes it a lot cheaper than the fancy wooden spinning wheels, but it was still a few $100s. Well, they had different models. I think they started maybe at $200 and ranged to about $500. But compared to the wooden ones that maybe start at $600 and go up to several thousand, that's a better deal. But we actually saw at the Clemmis & Clemmis booth there was a wheel called the Gossip Wheel, and it was $4,999. I didn't get a chance to ask them why this is so special or expensive. It looked like it had two wheels or 2 bobbins, so maybe 2 people can spin at the same time on the wheel. I'm not sure what the special feature is. So in other spinning news, I bought at the Sheep and Wool Festival a couple of combed top balls of wool. So this first one is Cormo, and it's this beautiful sage green. And then I bought a blue-faced Leicester in a just plain white. And these are both from River Winds Fiber Farm. And from Jill Johnson. So I did start spinning this green one, and it's so nice to spin with comb top. It feels velvety on my hands, and yeah, it's pretty easy to spin with. I don't notice any more difficulty than spinning with Coopworth, or I'm not sure if this is a as short of a wool as like a merino, but it's going fine. And you can kind of see the crimp in the wool, so you can see the elasticity just in the comb top. So this is a pleasure to spin with. And I think my plan for this, I'm going to spin the white about the same as the green, and then I'm going to ply the 2 strands together to make a barber pole yarn, and maybe I'll make a hat out of that. So green and white is my Michigan State colors, so I like to represent. Lastly, I have some acquisitions from Wisconsin Sheep and Wool. First of all, I bought a pair of socks. I'm pretty sure these are machine knit socks. They're more of a lace weight with the cool cabled pattern, and they were in a sale bin, so I thought, hey, why not? I'm probably not going to knit a pair of lace socks like this, because that's a lot of stitches to commit to, so might as well buy it. These are 80% alpaca and 20% nylon, and love me some alpaca. Last year I actually didn't buy, I bought 1 ball of wool for spinning, but all the yarn I bought was alpaca and silk, so thought that was kind of funny. So this year I wanted to make sure I bought some wool yarn. I went in with an idea of wanting to make a long wool sock or slipper, and this I think was in the first or second booth we saw, and it spoke to me, so I went ahead and started my purchases right there. This is a Wensleydale. It's from Gwyneth Glen Long Wools. Sorry about the lighting. The colorway is called Come October, and it feels pretty rustic. This is an Aran weight, so I think this will make a nice slipper sock. I think this might be cool with some color work if I pair it with a neutral color, and but I've never tried stranded color work, so I'm not sure if I'm up to the task, but we will see. And the last thing I bought was this beautiful Shetland wool. This is a pretty special wool because it's very local. I have a monthly knitting group at a local library, and one of the ladies, Kay, raises Shetland sheep, so she sells at Wisconsin Sheep and Wool under the name Thistle Ridge. And you can see the names of the sheep they came from. This is Rose and Casey. She had a variety of natural colored yarns from fingering weight to Aran weight, and in all the natural colors from white to a dark chocolatey brown and everything in between. And she also sells fleeces and unspun fiber. So this is grown locally, spun locally, and now I'm going to knit it locally. And the plan for this yarn is to knit a Mr. Rogers cardigan for my boyfriend. So a few weeks ago he brought up Mr. Rogers because something I said reminded him of a lyric in a song by Mr. Rogers. And so sure enough, I looked up some cardigan pattern, I thought there's got to be a Mr. Rogers cardigan pattern on Ravelry, and there are a few. So I only got 4 skeins of this. It's labeled as worsted, but I think it's more of a bulky weight, and each of these is 200 yards. I have 4 total. So I'm hoping that's enough. You know, similar to me, he has long arms, so gotta make sure those sleeves are long enough. But if I don't have enough, I'll come up with a solution. The one downside of this is it did have quite a lot of vegetable matter, so I hope that's not a deal breaker. But I picked out some of it, and I think it's still gonna knit up nicely. Well, that's all I have for you today. I'm gonna finish my donut here, and I hope you have a lovely day wherever you are in the world.